I'd started playing at various things, and I can remember getting £30 an hour when I played piano at places and being like, I am so rich. There was a time when Spotify came out and people thought that touring was going to be dead. And it's all done full circle again. It's also getting people to use technology, AI, YouTube, for the arts. You can learn the piano now without having a teacher. She was like, can you audition? And it was for Robbie Williams. So I did a video with him. So that was probably one of my first professional gigs. And I hadn't played, genuinely, I hadn't played for like 3 years. Yeah. I played piano for him at the Royal Variety. That was like my first big gig. I like sat down and saw the Queen and I was like, oh.
It's variety.
Hello and welcome to the Variety Show podcast with me, Adam Sternberg. Now, on today's episode is a pianist and a cellist. She has worked for artists as diverse as Andrea Bocelli and Cher, that's the one, and has been on programmes from Britain's Got Talent to the Graham Norton Show, amongst many, many other things. I'd love to welcome today's podcast, Helen Nash. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Now, I normally start with my guests, just a brief sort of historical catch-up, where you came from originally.
Okay, so I am from the middle of Cornwall.
That's quite a long way away.
Yeah.
That could beat the record for, yes, that's quite... How middle is the middle of Cornwall?
So as far away from the coast as you can get, right in the countryside, dairy farm, lots of land, lots of animals.
So about as different from London as you can get.
But I still live there, but I've moved to the coast now.
Okay. So you feel yourself to be Cornish, I suppose?
Definitely.
You don't speak Cornish, by any chance?
No, and I was born in Devon, which isn't great.
Were your parents performers, musicians?
No, so my dad is an agronomist, or was an agronomist. He's retired now. So he basically is sort of a soil health expert. So
Very important.
Yeah, quite on trend.
Quite on trend. And so you never felt the desire to be an agronomist yourself?
I felt the desire to do many things, but I never did that. I did consider doing a bit of soil testing for a bit. No, I really did. It's quite good money, yeah.
And then it's a slightly off message, but how does soil testing actually work?
Okay, so you've got a field, and then in the field you have to do a W. So you take a sample there, and there, and then you get all that soil, shake it up, and see what pH it is. But the field could be massive, so it could be like a big job.
So this is why I love these. You see, I would have never known that. I have learned something non-musical.
Wait till I teach you something.
Yes, I'm waiting with not so bated breath. And your mum?
My mum, it was their own business, so she worked for them. But my grandfather was a sex therapist, but also a pianist.
Okay, I could ask you in a similar way with agronomist what a sex therapist does, but I think but actually, that's back in the then. I presume that was quite. I mean, now every other person's a sex therapist or a therapist.
No, it was quite revolutionary. We're going to edit this.
Actually, we're not editing this because this could possibly be the most interesting bit of the podcast ever. But carry on.
So, no, I think that his accolade was there'd been a woman who was married to her husband for, I think, 3 years and hadn't got pregnant because they didn't know what to do. And within about a month of seeing him, she was up the duff. So,
well, that's good. And maybe it's good that is sort of sorted out before you need the use of a therapist these days. Excellent. Well,
so he was a jazz pianist.
Sorry.
It's good.
It was good. Yeah, thanks.
He played the vibraphone and he played the piano and he did a bit of Saturday Night TV. So kind of what I ended up doing for a bit. So he played for John Dankworth and Cleo Lane.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he was good, but that was never his career. He always
had other things
going on.
Okay, let's have a look at the picture with you with the cello. So how old would you have been then?
I would have been 8. That was my 8th Christmas.
Okay, so you would have been playing for some time before then. No?
No.
So when did you start?
Then. So I got given my cello on my 8th Christmas. I'd been going on and on about it, and no one really knows why. So my dad plays the piano, and I'm the youngest of 4. And so I was always hearing music. And for some reason, I really wanted to play the cello, and I think they thought it was a phase, and it didn't go away. So then for my 8th Christmas, they gave me a cello.
And you have no idea why?
No, I think I just heard it and I liked it, and it's quite melancholy, isn't it? Quite like
Yeah, you didn't want anything upbeat and fun.
Not
you
really.
wanted all that sort
Play
of...
the piano and the cello. You have to sit down for both.
So have you done the piano? Have you been playing the piano before?
Yeah, I've been playing the piano before, and also
that's what I meant. So, but musically.
Oh yeah, musically, yeah. So I'd been just playing. I think I started piano probably about the same time actually. But there was a piano in the house, and my sister's like an amazing pianist. My dad's amazing. So it was, I don't know, probably nurture rather than nature.
Okay. But the cello was your own choice.
Yeah.
And if that's the year you started the cello, I mean, not that I know much, but your finger position seems to be pretty good.
Thanks.
I'm only making that up because...
I do think that I had...
I
had an ear.
Your whole poise there seems...
But I'd watched a lot. Whenever it came on the TV, I was fully into it. But that would have been... I think that was probably a few days after Christmas. So I don't think I'd even had a lesson by then.
But that's remarkable.
Thanks.
I think.
No, I'm not.
God knows what it sounds like.
No, there's loads of things wrong with that. But I do think that when you play a stringed instrument, you do have to have a good ear. You've got to be able to play in tune.
And I think that's a point, I suppose, for everyone, young people learning instruments that, and I know from my own sons, that obviously when you play a piano, you play middle C. It sounds like a middle C and it's perfectly in tune and it's absolutely fantastic. You try and play a note on the violin, particularly if you're pressing down a string, unless it's right, it doesn't sound very good.
No.
So that initial stage is quite tricky.
Really, really tricky. And you start off playing pizzicato, and then your left hand, they always say that the right hand's the voice and the left hand are the words. And I think once that's come together in your head, I think that it makes a lot more sense. And the thing about a stringed instrument is that you've got all the colours. You play the piano, and obviously if you're an amazing pianist, you can get loads of colours out of piano, but nowhere near as many as you can get out of a stringed instrument. You can just get every shape, every colour out of it eventually.
So that's you at 8 and you're doing piano at the same time. At what point from then were you performing in public or started to take it more seriously?
I never took it seriously at all. And I think that's, I just had normal lessons. Everyone in our village just went to the same piano teacher by chance, because being in the middle of Cornwall,
you don't have a whole range of...
There's nothing at all. And so by chance, I got given that cello because the year so it would have been the September that the teacher started at my primary school, and she played the cello, and my mum was like, would you teach my daughter? So that was why there was no cello teachers around. Yeah, I was just playing.
So that was quite lucky, wasn't it? Because otherwise...
Really lucky, yeah. Really lucky. And there was no YouTube or anything then. You couldn't be self-taught. And when I got given that cello as well, we knew nothing about it, and my dad tuned it. And we tuned it an octave higher than it should have been. So how it didn't break, I've no idea, because that's like tons of pressure on the bridge. But yeah, it didn't break. So no, we had no idea.
So was your whole, up until secondary education, all in Cornwall?
Yeah.
But there must have then been a point, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, at which you thought, this is quite important to me.
I always think that I didn't choose a path, but then when I look back, I'm like, oh no, I did that, and then I did that, and I did that. But it wasn't really till we had to choose what we were doing at university, and I was like, I didn't really know that you could play the cello. I knew you could play things because my granddad, but that wasn't his sole income, so I didn't know that it was actually a possibility. I auditioned for the Royal Welsh College and got in, and went there.
But before you even got to that point, someone or you yourself must have realised you were pretty good.
Yeah, so I'd play at things, and then I'd started playing at various things, and I can remember getting £30 an hour when I played piano at places and being like, oh my God, I am so rich. And also because it was on like a hourly wage, I just tried to play for as long as possible. So I
Slowly
did like
as well.
7 hours once. But as a general trend, what I'd be getting in tips would be more than what I was earning, which kind of gives you
Well, how old were you here?
16, 17.
Okay, so before you went to college. Can we talk about musical influences at that point, growing up, when, I don't know, in your teens? Who inspired you?
I have 2. I have Michael Jackson, controversial, and I have Jacqueline Dupre.
Well, I must say, let's start with Jacqueline Dupre. Still, that classic recording with Barenboim conducting it is incredibly emotional.
It's ridiculous. And our whole story is just...
But it's also, I sometimes wonder how much is tied in to the story as well. But even if there wasn't the story, that feeling that she and her instrument are one, and just the emotionalness of that. And also her relationship with Barenboim, of course. Everything is...
And the sister.
Really? I don't know that.
Well, they shared a husband, didn't they?
I wouldn't know. I'll watch it. I need to watch the film. And Michael Jackson. Now, I think despite everything that's come out, though, Michael Jackson, for a lot of people, is quite inspirational, just in terms of...
Yeah, it's just his stage presence. His dancing. It is everything. Do you know, at the same kind of age as well, Vanessa May was a thing. And I remember being like, this is cool, and watching her. But being like, I don't play the violin, so it's cool, but yeah. And
in terms of composers, anything particularly you'd love? Bit of Bach?
Just the piano stuff. It was like Chopin and Beethoven, all the classics, yeah. But it wasn't, I was never like driven into anything by anyone or anything. It was relatively organic.
You leave Cornwall?
Yeah.
You go to Wales?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah.
All your Welsh viewers, she loved Wales.
No, it was just going from the middle of nowhere to a city. It was
Cardiff.
It was different, yeah. It was really different. Lived down a lane surrounded by fields, so it was big. So my really good friend from university, literally first day I was just lost. I couldn't find the way back to my house. I had no idea where anything was. And she actually was then sort of, when we left college, that friend, she'll hate me talking about her, but that friend then became an agent and then was like, there's some auditions you can go to. And then that happened. But after university, I was never going to play the cello again. But I think that everyone that finishes music college, most of my friends, they all needed a break after it.
Why?
It's just really intense. And I think you have to untrain your ears a little bit as well, because they just become so acute that you're just like, I can't enjoy music anymore. You've just got to have a little bit of time out.
And did you?
Yeah.
How long?
About 3 years.
That's a lot of time. And you didn't play at all?
I played a bit of piano, but piano was always sort of a bit of therapy for me. It was never the studied instrument. I studied cello, so...
Cello was your first instrument?
Yeah.
So what did you do during those 3 years?
Worked in a pub, plucked turkeys, worked at Ginsters.
So sort of quite stimulating, challenging and career-forming jobs, really.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I also, around this stuff, I did various placements. So this is when I'm like, I wasn't bothered about music, but I clearly was, because I went and worked for Classic FM for a bit. I did a placement and did a bit of freelance with them.
Doing what?
Like playlists and just helping. I worked in TV for a bit and it was a music channel. I worked for Decca for a little bit, did placement. So it was always there, but I never thought I'd play.
So what brought you back?
I had a songwriting contract. That's what happened.
Tell me about that.
I was playing piano for a wedding, one of the first ones I did. And then I got asked by some producers if I'd write some songs. I was like, I've never written a song. And then I went to London and for a year I did songwriting. And then I guess that kind of got me to London. And then because I was there, people from university, you're by accident making contacts when you're
all the time.
When you're at university, when you're at music college. She was like, could you audition? And it was for Robbie Williams. So I did a video with him. So that was probably one of my first professional gigs. Did a video with him.
Playing cello.
Yeah. And I hadn't played for like 3 years. Yeah. So I did that.
So how did that feel coming back to it after 3 years?
I was like, what am I doing? But each time I have tried to step away from the cello particularly, which I've always had a little bit of a love-hate relationship with.
Tell me, why? What's that
Because
about?
you really love it and then you study it and then it sort of becomes a bit of a chore.
So I think that, and we'll get on to this later, but I think people see successful musicians, people who earn their living, successful musicians out there and just think, wow, lovely. What an amazing job. How lucky that person is to be able to. But it's not necessarily all that, is it?
It is now. It is now, but it definitely wasn't on the path. You know, pick it up and you drop it and you pick it up and you drop it. But every time I've tried to drop it, it always pulled me back.
So then maybe there is some sort of inevitability coming back from your desire when you're 8.
Yeah,
that's what you
definitely.
wanted to somehow
Definitely.
in you, intrinsically. Yeah. So you did the Robbie Williams video.
Yeah.
And you got that job, I presume.
Yeah.
That was part of an orchestra? Or?
Yeah, it was part of an orchestra. And then I played a couple more times for him for something. And then I played piano for him at the Royal Variety. So that was probably my first, I'd done weddings and background things and stuff. But that was like my first big gig, I guess.
So how did that feel?
I sat down and saw the Queen and I was like, oh.
Were you nervous?
Yeah. Yeah, I was really nervous. Yeah. And then now it turns out, because I didn't know anyone, but most of those people in that Robbie Williams orchestra are now people that I quite often gig with. So it's all trailed back.
And for something like that, you were, I presume, an orchestra for one of his songs.
Yeah.
And there'd be an orchestration and you'd have a lot of time to learn it.
Yeah, they give you enough time. You always get sent the music. But when it's for a music video as well, it's on playback. So you're doing it again and again and again. Yeah, you've got to know what you're doing.
So after that, then the work started rolling in?
Yeah, I was doing bits of TV and then I got asked to audition for Escala. And I was like, I haven't played for ages, not sure. And I practiced
Tell me
loads.
about Escala. Who are Escala?
So Escala went on Britain's Got Talent in 2008, I think it was. And I remember seeing them.
And they won?
And they didn't win.
Didn't they win?
No, they either came second or third. I can't remember what they came. And I remember watching them actually. When I was working at Classic FM, I remember the Bond premiere was there. And I watched them because it's in Leicester Square. And I remember watching them and being like, God, they're really cool. And then literally 2 years later, I was in it. So Escala are like a electric string quartet, basically just trying to make classical music accessible for everyone by just funking it up with like a drum beat or reimagining pop songs and putting a classical edge on them. Crossover. But we don't like to be called crossover.
Yes, I don't like the word crossover.
No one does.
Sounds a bit like cross-dressing. That's a different issue. Can we watch the video now, just so we know what we're talking about? I see you at the front.
I am there because you asked for it.
No. Yeah, but fair enough. And you still work.
Yeah.
So when they first came out, that was something quite new. I mean, I suppose they'd taken the Vanessa Mae sort of idea, but just expanded it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we've been as we are now for 10 years.
How important do you think things like Escala are for helping people who would not normally be into classical music?
Yeah, I've seen firsthand that it reaches people. So we've done quite a lot of outreach work as well. We'll sometimes go to places that doesn't have music and encourage it. And the uptake of string playing is then huge. I think it's really beneficial. And I think that it's not a dying art. Music isn't a dying art at all. But I think, and I've heard you talk about it on other podcasts as well, but all the government cuts and everything, I do feel like that there's quite a need for a load of young people to take up instrumental learning.
Yes, and you're right, I do mention this a lot, and it's something that concerns me because I think, there was an article in The Guardian recently which not just talking about music, but the arts, performing arts in general, how it's become much more accessible only to the elite because, well, A, the lack of funding, B, how can you afford to not earn any money whilst you're whatever? So I do think there needs to be some method to help a wider range of people.
Yeah. And I don't think the method actually is that hard. I think you just need a framework. It's, get an instrument, have some lessons, see where it goes. That is as easy as it is, but that access is being taken away.
I mean, I don't know if you remember during COVID, and I've mentioned this before, that advert which had, I think it was a ballet dancer in it, which said she can always retrain in IT or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Which for me demonstrated how governments treat the arts or the lack of seriousness with which it tends to be the first thing that's cut from the syllabus.
Yeah, it is. But I think that it's become a bit of a joke as well, hasn't it? Because it is so elitist now. So it doesn't really matter what you earn to a certain extent. And it was when I graduated, you could move to London for 400 quid. You could get a job at somewhere else if you needed it. And you'd be able to cover your rent with, I'd play in hotels or whatever, but you could cover your rent just by gigging or doing a part-time job as well. That's not the case now. So getting people out and into the world is hard. And also social media's made a difference as well, because you're not having so many people gig, you're having people upload, which also is causing problems, because then you're not performing to people. You can't read a room, but you are sticking things online and you're good in front of a camera. I'm not saying which one's best, but everything's changed.
That's interesting though, isn't it? Because those are two distinct skills. But for me, the magic of live entertainment lies in that first word, the fact that it's live. And thank God, at least at the moment, that's the one thing that AI can't do.
Yeah.
It can't do the show. Well, it can do a voyage, but even so, in most terms, you need people out there, don't you?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty hopeful that nothing's going to die out, and I think that it does full circle, doesn't it? Things have tried, like Kindle have tried it. Everyone prefers a book. It's all of those things. And there was a time when Spotify came out and people thought that touring was going to be dead. And it's all done full circle again. So I'm hopeful.
I think all that's true. And I am very hopeful as well. And I do think, in a way, because of the prevalence of technology and whatever AI might do, there's even more a need for the live experience, because it's the one thing that connects us that it can't be. But my concern is, how do you enable people from poor working class backgrounds to have the opportunity to do that? That's the challenge, I think.
So I've had two ideas. So one, in lockdown, I wrote a little book about how to play the cello. Because it was annoying me that it wasn't getting to people. Like, people couldn't access things. So I wrote a book, and the manual is like how to get things government funded, how to get grants, how to basically play using all the resources that you've got at home. If you can't afford an instrument, you can't afford a teacher. So I think that firstly, you start at home. If you teach, I think that when I first left music college as well, it was like, don't teach, go and play, go and play, go and play. And I worked in a pub, but then I didn't teach for a long time. And then you realize, like, what on earth? Like, you've got to pass on whatever little knowledge that you have. And I just think that it's also getting people to use technology, AI, YouTube, for the arts. You can learn the piano now without having a teacher, with all of the apps that there are and all of the YouTube things that there are. And I just think that it's the encouragement of that rather than TikTok.
No, I agree. In Ireland, there's a sort of a scheme where they pay people who are doing the arts a basic minimum wage to help them through that initial period, which to me seems like a great idea.
Yeah.
It means that you have some sort of financial certainty at a time where, if you're not earning the income, you're well tempted to give it all up.
But that's what it used to be. It used to be currency, right? So in the olden days, you'd have like a juggler or a musician. It would be your currency, and it gets you into those places that actually you wouldn't be able to access if you're just a normal person. James McAvoy, that actor, I won't quote him because I can't do it right, but he he's done a really good sort of YouTube on how the arts have sort of elevated him and his life in every way. And I think that, I mean, everyone knows all of the benefits and that instrumental learning has, that arts have, that all the extracurricular things have.
You're right. And it's not even just a question of making it your career.
Yeah,
it's what
not at all.
It's what it does for you as a person in general terms.
And then you never know, like you could pick up the flute and I was thinking this actually on the way here when you're like, oh, what do I say? When I look at all the friends that I have, all the places I've been, all the things that I've done, it always links back to the cello. Not so much the piano, little bits, but it always links back to the cello. And I was lucky that a teacher moved to my village, that I got a cello, and, you know, it was all more accessible when I was young.
Because it is interesting to think what would have happened if a teacher hadn't moved to your village.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sliding door, isn't it? Because
but I was very talented.
Well, no, clearly you were. Although, if we could just look at the picture with a goat, you could be a vet, I reckon.
I know, I'm like a modern day hipster, aren't I?
Well, I wouldn't quite go that far, but I think, there's obviously a love of animals and music.
But no, that was my upbringing. Like, Mum would milk goats and, you know, it was proper rural.
And there's a sort of connection, isn't there, between living in the countryside and music somehow. It's a sort of an expression of freedom, of nature.
Yeah, you've got to make your own fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't get pregnant. I played instruments.
Good. Well, that's good to hear. Although maybe never mind. Moving on. Right. Now, this is the point of the exercise where you teach me something.
No worries.
Which I'm very excited about.
Are you?
Not really, no. I'm always slightly concerned.
Can you stand up?
Can I stand up?
Yeah.
It's variety.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Okay, so
I'm standing up now.
You are.
Yeah.
So in a Scala, we do a foot stomp.
Foot stomp.
So we do this.
Great. Can't I do this thing instead?
You can do that at the end.
I like that bit. I can do that bit.
He's going to play the music and we're going to foot stomp.
Who's going to play the music? Have you briefed him already without my...
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Recognise it? So we're... Oh, it's going on. So up, down. Up, down. Up, down.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Try and get it across the body.
I think I could do this. Right, thank you. My mother was a dancer and choreographer, right? And when I was young, we used to go on little musical shows, which she used to choreograph. I was so bad at dancing, much to my mother's, not annoyance, but frustration. She said I couldn't even walk in time. So, and also, you know, you meant to do opposites. So I would walk like a bit like Frankenstein. So my arm, both my same. So anyway, I'm saying that. So what you got me to do there was, I thought, quite simple in the scheme of things,
You can depth for me now.
Quite impressive. So thank you very much. We've sort of touched upon this, but do you think that people misunderstand what it's like to be a performer?
In what way?
Well, what life is like as a performer. Do you think people just...
A bit like a zoo, isn't it?
Yes.
I think that people probably don't realise how much you have to practice to then be a comfortable performer, because those hours are huge.
And do you still?
When I don't know something, yeah, full on. But if we know it, or I know it, or we know the choreo, but yeah, cool. You never stop. But I'd say that at home I don't practice unless I have to. I play now, which is therapy, I guess.
And also, I suppose people maybe just, as I said before, see the glamour of it, and not the work that goes into.
Yeah, I guess so. But then it can be super glamorous. It depends who you're playing for as well, or who you're with, or what gig you're doing. You can do some gigs and it's literally like red carpet, all the food, palace for a dressing room, or you can go somewhere else and you're like, toilets around the back. There's some tap water there. You get both, which I think is interesting and good for you.
Again, talking about people aspiring to be performers, what advice would you give, serious advice you'd give to anyone who's maybe like you were, having doubts about whether to do it?
All you can do is practice. And I think what is really important now, which people aren't doing as much, is gig. Of course, go on social media, put yourself out there if you want to, but make sure that you gig live and practice correctly. Because I think loads of people spend a lot of time practicing, but incorrectly. I think get a clear method and you'll save yourself loads of time, and it will be beneficial for every other part of your life as well.
Do you think you need to go to music college?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that you learn how to translate notes into music, which I don't think you necessarily, unless you're an insane prodigy, I don't think you necessarily have the maturity to do that when you're younger.
But that's as a classical musician, or do you think any musician? If you're a bit of a jazzer who's...
Yeah, but then you can study jazz, can't you?
You can, of course you can.
Yeah, I personally have always thought that education is never a waste of time. And then you can do with it what you want, We're here to learn, right?
Well, no, definitely. And it's ongoing. And so just to conclude, and we've touched upon this already, but in terms of moving forward, are you hopeful about the opportunities that there are for music and the arts within this country?
Yes.
That was a bit of hesitation.
For generally, or my job?
Not generally. Particularly for people who are not...
Yeah, no, I am, because I think a lot of my contemporaries are doing something about it. People are teaching, people are giving their knowledge back. There's foundations, people are doing outreach work. So, yeah, but I do think that everyone needs to come together and make it happen. But I think that that's always been the case. And I think that people have always worried that arts are dying out, and they never do, because I think that they're a huge necessity, which I haven't always thought that. Like when as a performer, you're always like, you'll go to the doctor and you're like, why aren't I doing something like this? Why aren't I a doctor? Why aren't I a surgeon? Why aren't I contributing?
I've thought about that very thought, because my brother's a doctor, and I've thought that compared to what I do. But his reply would be, you're giving people pleasure, enjoyment.
Which I came to terms with in COVID, actually, when nothing was going on, and I was getting all the enjoyment of people out of the arts. Everyone was. And that's when I became at peace with my job.
And the other thing which someone else said to me the other day was, you read about all these tech bros creating AI, earning billions. They still go to the cinema and listen to music. And, for everyone, whoever you are, it's a part of your life. It's what gives you fun.
There's no one that doesn't like a book or doesn't like a movie or doesn't like music or doesn't like a play or doesn't. It's not a thing. It's a necessity. And I think it's a huge part of our culture.
Well, I also think it's integral. And this is getting a bit maybe too much, but integral to
humanity. Are you going to
cry? Yeah, but to humanity almost is what distinguishes.
Yeah, it is.
Going back.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been fantastic, Helen.
I've enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you have.
I have too. Do some serious editing and then it can go out.
It will do. Anyway, thank you very, very much. And thank you very much for everyone who's watching this today. For future episodes and more information about the podcast, do visit us on our social media channels at The Variety Show Podcast. Until the next time, thank you very much. Goodbye.
It's variety.